Yeah, we're not hearing a lot from here at the White House, but we are speaking to campaign officials right now who describe the mood, according to two of them, as, quote, deflated right now. They say privately that they are exhausted and there's a real apprehension that they're in for what could be a days-long fight without the potential for any concession from the president on the back end right here. And to that idea, and of course it's premature because this race is not over, the campaign even posting a statement saying the race is not over. We have spoken to campaign officials and those close to the president about whether there's even been a conversation with him about the potential of losing. And I'm told, quote, there is no talk of a concession. That's not a conversation anyone is having right now. So you really have this potential for what's going to be an uncertain several days ahead if the trajectory of this race continues in this direction right now. You saw the president walk into the briefing room yesterday and remarks that were really removed from reality, saying that there was widespread voter fraud, just going on and on about conspiracy theories, again, as Tom indicated, without providing any evidence. And I think one point that sort of best demonstrates the inconsistency of this message is that the president was touting Republican victories in the House and Senate at the same time as he was saying that he was cheated out of votes. You recognize those votes are cast on the same ballot. And that was just one of many inconsistencies that we've been seeing. It echoed what you've heard in recent days, where some Trump supporters were saying, keep counting, and others were saying, stop the count, depending on the state and the position where the president was. That echoes what you hear privately, again, from campaign officials, saying that they don't know what the message is right now. It's not clear who the field general is right now. We're told by campaign officials that they are having conversations about who that person should be, who should be going before cameras today to communicate the public message of the campaign. Again, they put out a statement a short time ago from one of the attorneys within the campaign saying that this race is not over. They say once the election is final, Donald Trump will be reelected. Savannah and Hoda.
Thank you, Peter. We've been hearing, too, that we heard Ted Cruz and we heard Lindsey Graham kind of being Team Trump. And I was just wondering from Peter, if you're still there, is there anybody else who's like raising their hand and standing with the president?
Yeah, what was notable about that, Hoda, you bring up an important point, is that obviously yesterday there was a lot of quick criticism among Republicans. Mitt Romney, Chris Christie saying that the president's comments were inflammatory and not informative. And you heard from Donald Trump Jr., the president's son. And we know that the president sent his sons, Eric and Don Trump Jr., to go out and sort of speak on his behalf, to fight for him in recent days. You've seen them at news conferences in different states. Donald Trump Jr. basically called out those Republicans, said, where are you Republicans? You should be standing with my dad right now, with my father right now. And within a matter of hours, several of them then did. Ted Cruz going on Fox News, Lindsey Graham going on Fox News, saying that what was taking place in Pennsylvania, I think in his words, was crooked as a snake, the process there. And it wasn't just those two men, but also notably Kevin McCarthy, who, for those not familiar, is the top House Republican, the House Minority Leader, likely to remain the House Minority Leader in the new Congress when it adjourns in January. The congressman from California saying that Donald Trump won this election, saying that his supporters, his folks, cannot be silent. They have to unite together to stop this from happening. It was pretty incendiary remarks. I think most observers would agree.